most of you have been reading Samson Agonistes like line by line, because I don't know if you have short questions, but even for the broad ones, you do need to be acquainted with the text. Okay, so you might want to okay, let's start with Dalila. So, well, Dalila is a Philistine who belongs to Sorek. There is this place called Sorek, and Dalila comes from there. But she is a Philistine. We already know that because she perhaps is a spy who is brought to seduce Samson, and hence hence she belongs, of course, to Philistine, and she is from this place called Sorek. Well, I don't know, in my naive days in my post graduation, I had began the character of Dalila with a very anti-feminist uh, joke, or many jokes are of that sort, but I did not create this joke. This joke was already there, and I used it as a kind of a uh, introduction. I used it as a kind of a point of departure, a point of beginning for the character of Dalila, and the joke goes like this. You don't need to write this. I'm just trying to create the proper, or maybe not proper, but an improper context of the introduction of the character of Dalila. Okay. So a little boy, after being beaten up by his mother, goes to the father, who, to console him, tells a story. And the father tells the story. Once God created the world and rested, and then he created men and rested. Then he created woman, and so the child interrupted, rested again? So the father replies, no, since then neither the God nor the world nor the man have ever rested. So I understand this is a very controversial and very anti-feminist joke to say, and I was very young then when I was doing my masters, and I did not know the implications of saying anything like this. But as a teacher now, as in a so-called responsible position, one should not talk about this, like in public at least. But what the point of the joke was, that it were actually men who create opportunities for themselves to be disturbed, or to be bothered, or to fall. And gradually, as I grew up, I realized that it's not because of a woman that anything happens. A woman is only made a scapegoat. But is Dalila only a scapegoat in in Samson Agonistes? What do you think? What do you guys think? We are very few people today. We are only 12 people, so we can have a more interactive way of going about it. So, do you think that Dalila is just a scapegoat, and Dalila is innocent, or Dalila is a victim of patriarchal gaze or patriarchy? And this joke, of course, is a double-edged sword, and it can be used to offer a key to the way in which Dalila is represented. What do you think? Dalila is innocent, and she's just made a scapegoat, Ishita, what do you think? Ishita, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what do you think? So the problem of the online class is that you have to think aloud. জোরে জোরে ভাবতে হবে, না হলে মানে আমি তোমার ভাবনাটাকে শুনতে পাবো না আর কি। So no. But in a class I can see that you're thinking, but here I don't know if you're thinking or if, no, you're not even there. Yes, Ishita, what is your thought about this? Is Dalila innocent? Is she made a scapegoat? And if she is, okay, fine. Let's first talk about whether she is a scapegoat or not. Someone else can also jump in, like while we wait for uh, Ishita to answer, we can, um, you know, talk amongst ourselves. Yes, anyone who thinks that Dalila is innocent? Yes, no, maybe, anyone? No, no one wants to either defend or accuse Dalila.
Yes, sir. She is innocent.
Why do you think she is innocent? You have to like answer.
স্যার ও তো নিজের ইচ্ছাতে এরকম একটা কাজে তো নিজেকে ইনভলভ করেনি।
নিজের ইচ্ছায় কাজে মানে স্পাইংয়ে বা স্যামসনকে ইয়ে করতে, সিডিউস করতে ওর নিজের ইচ্ছা ছিল না এবং ওকে জোর করে পাঠানো হয়েছে। যেমন আমরা স্পাই মুভিজে দেখি যে বোনকে আটকে রেখেছে বা মাকে আটকে রেখেছে আর তাকে দিয়ে স্পাইং করাচ্ছে বা প্রস্টিটিউশন করাচ্ছে, এরকম আর কি। মেবি, ইয়া, বাট ডু ইউ ফাইন্ড এনি প্রুফ অফ দিস ফ্রম দ্য টেক্সট দ্যাট ওয়েদার ডেলিলা ডেলি।
কোশ্চেন হচ্ছে যে
হুম
আমার এখানটা মনে নেই যদিও তো
হুম
ডেলিলা কি নিজের ইচ্ছাতে মানে ও কি নিজের ইচ্ছাতে স্পাই মানে হতে চেয়েছিল বা এগেনস্টে কিছু মানে ইনফরমেশন নিতে চেয়েছিল, কারণ অনেক সময় এটা দেখা যায়। তো সেই জায়গাটা আমার নিজের মনে নেই, এই জন্য আমি কনফিউশনের জন্য আর কি অ্যান্সার করতে চাইছিলাম না।
Okay, but you think there's a possibility that Dalila did not want to become a spy and come to Samson. Fine. And Trijit says that she is a scapegoat because she has an eternal and mental response on Samson's side. Eh? What is this? Eternal and mental response. What do you mean? Trijit, can you speak? Like, of course you can speak, but speak through the microphone. I mean, I did not get what you meant by eternal and mental response. What do you mean?
Sir, because Dalila has to bear all the bad works and bad vibes that Samson used to give her, and whether it
Sams,
is real.
Samson used to give her, like Samson was an abusive husband. Is there any? Is there anything in the text that shows it?
No,
Then why do you say that he used to give? Like once when Dalila, um, you know, betrayed Samson, of course, I mean, Samson will now have something to say against Dalila, but did did they have a bitter relationship? Did they fight, or was Samson an abusive husband towards Dalila, or Dalila was an abusive spouse towards Samson? Is there any indication in the text that points out this issue? Well,
Not
yeah.
exactly,
Hmm.
sir,
Hmm.
but I think not exactly. But Samson is one kind of tried to dominate on Dalila, something like that.
Where did he want to dominate? Like, which lines prove it? Like, whenever we want to talk about a character, we need to talk about the lines where this thing happened, so that we can substantiate our answer. So when Samson and Dalila were married, you are trying to say that Samson was trying to dominate Dalila, and that's why Dalila had enough of this, and she betrayed him. But wasn't Dalila sent only to betray Samson? We don't know much about the conjugal life of Samson and Dalila. I mean, I from the reading that I had read, I don't remember that, but that's why it is crucial for us to read the text. Okay, so that we understand it in whole. I don't know if I will find any lines which might prove me wrong or right, but let me see if this is true. Well, let us take into consideration the Christian element present over here. How does Christianity look upon women in general? Do we have any Christians over here who belongs to the Christian religion, who follows the Christian religion? I mean, typically, what does Bible have to say about women? You have read your Paradise Lost, and you might know that Christianity, just like Hinduism or Islam, looks at women in a particular way. So, what is that way?
So as
Hmm.
long as the woman is like pure, she, for example, like we consider Mother Mary as saint, but not any other woman, even not like Mary Magdalene, who was different. So in every religion, women are looked upon like, as long as they're pure at heart, pure in every way. But sometimes they can turn into somebody who influences the man to do something bad.
Mm-hmm. Oops. Uh, Shreya, are you still there? I think
So a Christian woman must be obedient and subordinate, and Dalila go against it.
Okay. No, I'm sorry, Shreya. I think I pressed something by mistake, and I was out of the meeting for a while, and then I came back. Before I go to Ria, Shreya, you were saying something.
Yes, sir, I was saying कि in every religion, including Christianity,
Mm-hmm.
we normally consider the woman as like, if the woman is pure, she is good in every way, like
Mm-hmm.
Mother Mary.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but sometimes we also consider woman as like a coaxer who influences the man to do something bad. But if she's pure in every way, she's like considered good. Or
Hmm. Interesting. And Ria, what were you saying?
sir, I was saying that according Christian thoughts, a woman
Hmm.
should be obedient and
Okay.
honest or subordinate towards her husband, and Galilea is go against it.
Mm, okay, but when she was going against her husband, was she uh, breaking a moral code? Because Dalila was a Palestinian, and so her loyalty first lies towards her motherland, which she carried out very perfectly. So, is she morally wrong? Any other thoughts? Anyone else who would like to accuse or defend Dalila for any reason whatsoever? Like, yeah.
So the Bible says that Samson loved her, but not that she loved him.
Okay, so Dalila did not love Samson, but Samson loved Dalila, which is okay. I mean, it's a very common thing. So, what's your point?
So I think that she was dedicated to his job. So
She was dedicated to her job.
yeah, dedicated
Okay.
to her job. So it should not be any wrong if she betrayed her husband, because that is also a part of her job.
Okay, so she was taught betrayal, and she was good at it. So she's rather a good betrayer than a good wife, because she was trained to be a betrayer. So that's what she did. So what is it that is coming out in general about this person called Dalila?
That she was like trained in a particular way, that
Mm-hmm.
she was a woman who was trained in a particular way to be the spy,
Mm-hmm.
and in every way that like women are considered to be like better spies.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why she was used as a spy to manipulate Samson.
Okay. So which appeared to be a very black and white thing regarding Dalila's character, that she was a bitch, that she uh, trapped poor Samson, that she is a seductress and a temptress, and she is disobedient, and she is a villain, and she is evil, and she is a witch, and so on and so forth, has now come by from your own arguments. It has come to the fore that Dalila is not such a black and white character, and if she is not such a black and white character, and if she has a depth in her character, she's not a flat character, she's a round character maybe, then we should appreciate Milton's characterization, given the fact that Milton himself was a misogynist, and he disliked women in general, yet he has consciously or unconsciously created a very interesting character, a character with a lot of depth in her. She might be divided between her loyalty towards her husband and her loyalty towards her motherland. Now, this is debatable, that if one should be more loyal to one's love, or one should be more loyal towards one's land. And you can begin the answer by this controversy, by this debate, that how can we demonize Dalila only because she was faithful to her own kind? I mean, we call a person who is faithful to our country a hero, no matter if he or she betrays some person in Pakistan or China or in some other hostile country. And yet we call Dalila's character into question because Dalila betrayed Samson. This shows that unconsciously, many of us, if not all of us, many of us are indoctrinated in the discourse of patriarchy. And as far as the Christianity paradigm is concerned, as far as the religious paradigm is concerned, I think, and I could be very wrong, as I think Ishita pointed out, that until and unless a woman is considered to be pure, she is okay. Otherwise, a woman is always considered to be the reason for the downfall not only of men but of entire civilizations. Let's recount what happened, how this came to be. In Mahabharata, many people believe that it was Draupadi's making fun of Duryodhan, which led to the war between the Kauravas and the Pandavas. Again, it was Duryodhan's misbehavior, Duryodhan's rape of Draupadi, or attempted rape of Draupadi, that led to the war between the two clans. None of it was actually the reason, but anyway, we have heard, we were being told that this happened. Then in Ramayana, only because Ravan had kidnapped Sita, Ram had led an entire expedition against Sri Lanka. Why not do a surgical strike, and why not bring out Sita from that Ashok Batika, whatever she was, and go home? No, Ram had to destroy the entire civilization of the Rakshasas. You see the politics here? If you still don't see it, let us consider the case of Helen of Troy. Why did the Greek attack Turkey or Troy? Because Helena had run away with Paris. Well, why not bring her back? Why not attack her homestead, Helena's Baper Bari, whatever. Again, in Bible, it was Eve who ate the apple or the fruit of knowledge, whatever shit that was. And she was tempted by Satan, because it is according to Bible, and it is not really written over there, but it is what is insinuated, that a woman's mind is weak and she can be easily tempted, and she ironically has this power to tempt men also, then whose mind is actually weak? Well, that is that is the discourse of the patriarchy, that when we are so very against a particular gender or race or caste or color, we issue paradoxical and mutually contradictory statements. Like, we say that, okay, the mind of the women is weak and hence she can be easily tempted. And on another hand, we also say that a woman is very clever. She can tempt and seduce any man. So, by the same argument, a person whose mind is itself weak and hence can be tempted easily according to the Bible, can easily tempt another man. So, how much intelligent a man really is? Anyway, let us not dwell on this further, but this should be the premise of Dalila's character, because even when Milton had created the character of Dalila, and for maybe 300 years Dalila was the villain, but in the light of these arguments, in the light of these studies, can we still say that Dalila is a villain? Actually, Dalila might be a hero, right? Just a minute. Okay, so let us go further into her character. Now, the first thing that appeals to me about Dalila is that her physical appearance. Now, Dalila's character, I think, gives us a view, gives us a look into the ability of Milton to portray a woman, portray a woman's beauty. And chorus says this: about Dalila, and we have to remember that the dialogue spoken by the chorus is actually of Milton. So chorus says this, that so bedecked, ornate and gay, like a stately ship, with all her bravery on and tackle trim. So this is Dalila, and chorus describes Dalila as what? Like a stately ship. Her stature, her, well, uh, it's not common for us to associate a woman with a ship, because ship is like huge. So was Dalila like big and fat? I don't know. But anyway, she was a stately ship. She had a kind of a royalty about her. She had a kind of a grace about her. You know, some women uh, have a lot of gravity and have a lot of grace about them, which mostly men lack. I mean, in our middle class scenario, I don't. Uh, there might be like bhadraloks among us, but uh, the kind of grace that attracts us, the kind of grace that makes us say wow, is to be found mostly in women, not so much in men. But I don't know how the female gaze works when a man is concerned. I am completely ignorant about it. But she is compared with a ship, and she is bedecked, she is ornate, and she is gay. Gay does not mean here homosexual, but gay here means happy. With all her bravery on and tackle trim. So she is ornate. She likes to be full of jewels. She likes to um, wear a lot of ornaments and stuff. So that is very cliched about Dalila, that she likes to wear ornaments. But the way chorus describes Dalila seems that the chorus is in love with Dalila, and so might Milton himself be, because sometimes we create a character with whom we fall in love ourselves. The same is true with Dalila, I think. So she is attractive and she is charming, and that is why Samson fell for her. So Samson was attracted towards this stately ship, and well, we can have a lot of innuendos coming out of here, but we will not go there. And Milton carefully planted this detail so that we do not blame Samson, because it's very common for men to fall for women who are beautiful, or at least who are graceful. Grace is something that is lacking in many men, and Samson, being a warrior, was not really a kind of a graceful person. I mean, if I imagine Samson, he's a rough and tough kind of a fellow, and he is not really a graceful person, and thus he likes, he's the beast who likes the beauty maybe. Second attribute of Dalila seems to be her intelligence, for which Samson did not fall for. And how do we know that she is intelligent? She gives excellent arguments. When Dalila comes to meet Samson and Samson accuses her of betraying him, then Dalila gives certain excellent arguments. One of them is, Dalila says, I saw the mutable of fancy, feared last one day, thou wouldest leave me. Wow, I did not see it coming. I saw the mutable of fancy, feared lest one day thou wouldest leave me. মানে যখন স্যামসন ওকে জিজ্ঞেস করলো যে ভাই তুমি আমাকে ন্যাড়া কেন করে দিলে ফ্রিতে, তখন Dalila is forwarding this argument যে আমি তোমাকে কেন তোমার মানে তোমার যে শক্তি বা তোমার শক্তি থেকে যে ফেমটা তুমি পাচ্ছ সেটা আমি কেন কেন নিয়েছি সেটার উত্তরটা দিতে গিয়ে সে কি বলছে বলছে যে আই স দি মিউটেবল অফ ফ্যান্সি, মানে আমি দেখতাম যে মানে তুমি সিঙ্গল নাও তাও তুমি মিঙ্গল করতে রাজি ছিলে, which is like common for most of the men. তো মিউটেবল মানে হচ্ছে চেঞ্জেবল, আর ফ্যান্সি মানে হচ্ছে কাউকে পছন্দ করার, ইউ টেক ফ্যান্সি অন সামওয়ান, টু সামওয়ান, ইউ টেক ফ্যান্সি টু সামওয়ান, লাইক ইউ লাইক সামওয়ান। তো চটচট করেই স্যামসন একটুখানি লুজ ক্যারেক্টার টাইপের ছিল এবং সে খুব চট করেই তার ফ্যান্সিটা চেঞ্জ হয়ে যেত। মানে অফকোর্স ইম্যাজিন করো, সরি, যে ইউ আর আ হিরো, you are like, you know, Virat Kohli, and or you are like Abhinav Bindra, who won a gold for shooting, who is not really considered to be a hero, or that pilot who went down in Pakistan and came back. What was his name? The mustached person. Anyway, or you are Hrithik Roshan, or no, some fake hero. You would, you know that you're famous, you know that you're muscular, you know that maybe you're intelligent also, maybe you are you have a lot of options. Abhinandan, yeah, I think, what was his full name? Abhinandan Rai, what was his full name? Anyway, yes, that's the pilot I was talking about. Anyway, so you, when you are handsome, when you are strong, when you are young, when you are rich, you have a lot of options and you can mutate, you can change your fancy. Like Dalila feared that maybe because Samson is all this, because of his strength, he might leave Dalila and marry someone else. Okay, and hence she took off the source of his strength and made sure that Samson will forever be with Dalila. See how she argues against Samson's accusations. She is not saying that she was a spy of the Palestinians and it was her duty towards the Palestinians and they can still be husband and wife no matter what. But she is saying that I love you so much that I did not want you to go to anyone else, and hence I made sure that you are no more a hero, because being a hero will give you more options, more beautiful women can come to you, so I will take away your strength, which will render you useless for other women. I mean, this is superb argument, wicked but superb. It's like saying that and this could be a little controversial. So there's this thing that happened in Baharampur where this jilted lover or maybe psychotic person killed this second year girl. Now the argument about love is this, that अगर मेरी नहीं हो सकती तो किसी और की नहीं होगी, and the girl might say that तू मेरा नहीं हो सकता तो, sorry, there is a disconnection. Okay, there was a disconnection, sorry. So अगर तू मेरी नहीं हो सकती तो किसी की नहीं होने दूंगा, and the other way around also, যে আমার যদি তুমি না হও তাহলে আমি তোমাকে কারুর হতে দেবো না, and so on and so forth. This looks very cute, this looks very passionate when you see it on screen or when you read it in the drama, but this is very demeaning, this is very this is against the very spirit of love. But how far do we really understand love? How far really did Dalila or Samson understand love? And love is a very overrated concept. Anyway, again Dalila says mine and love's prisoner, not the Philistines. ডেলিলা বলছে তুমি তোমাকে ফিলিস্তিনরা ধরে রাখেনি, তোমাকে আমার প্রেম ধরে রেখেছে। মানে দিস কুড বি আ ভেরি cheesy dialogue of a I don't know 21st century first decade Bengali movie. Like, you're not mine and love's prisoner, not the Philistines. আমার এবং আমার প্রেমের তুমি তোমাকে আমরা ধরে রেখেছি, তুমি ফিলিস্তিনদের প্রিজনার নও। আর ডেলিলার মতন সুন্দরী মহিলা কে না প্রিজনার হতে চাইবে, মানে দ্যাটস হোয়াট ডেলিলা মাইট থিঙ্ক। Here she appears to be a very kind of a possessive of her husband. But is that the real thing going on here? Or is Dalila just making fun of Samson? Or, well, Samson, if we take into consideration the fact that আমাদের যে বলিউডের হিরোরা হয় তারা সবাই বেশ সুন্দর সুন্দর দেখতে হয়, তারা বেশ হ্যান্ডসাম হয়, তাই না? তো ডেলিলাও বিউটিফুল, ঠিক আছে, বাট ডেলিলা ডাজ নট ওয়ান্ট টু পার্ট উইথ স্যামসন, and hence she is making an attempt to come closer to Samson, because they were married and because because Dalila wants to stay with Samson, but Samson of course does not want to do that. Moreover, she is intelligent because she asks for Samson's forgiveness. She asks for Samson's pardon. Why do you think Dalila, being now in the position of power actually over Samson, actually asks for Samson's pardon? That why does she say that আমাকে তোমার জীবনে আবার ফিরিয়ে আনো, আমি তোমার এক্স হয়ে থাকতে চাই না, আমি তোমার ওয়াই হয়ে যেতে চাই? or no, that's a very bad thing to say, but anyway, Dalila wants to be with Samson and she is appealing, she is asking for forgiveness from Samson. Why do you think that is so? Because there is a line where she is saying so, like she wants to be with Samson. Here is a line in line number 951. Let me approach at least and touch thy hand. একবার তো ছুতে দাও, এরকম টাইপের কিছু একটা বলছে। This is very funny to me, but maybe not to Dalila or Samson. এই যে এইখানে লাইন নাম্বার 910, লাইন নাম্বার 909, let me obtain forgiveness of thee Samson. ডাইরেক্টলি বলছে যে আমাকে ক্ষমা করে দাও, আমার ভুল হয়েছে, আমাকে ক্ষমা করে দাও। So why is she doing that? I mean, if we are talking in terms of her intelligence, and we already talked about the religious angle, so why do you think Dalila is asking for forgiveness from Samson? Nisha, would you like to have any opinions on this? Nisha Chakraborty. Belonging to my clan. Yes, Nisha? No? Who else is here? Orchok, you want to say something? Zufisha? Why is she asking for forgiveness? Ongira? Oh, don't know, sorry. Okay, Ongira?
So Dalila's request for forgiveness mm, for mutual choice to reveal the secret of Samson's strength.
Well, she already knows secret of Samson's strength. Why is she asking for forgiveness? Well, if we think that Samson is Christian, at least he is, well, having some Christian strains in his character. One of the greatest virtues of Christianity is that you forgive people. Like Jesus said that, you know, forgive these people because they do not know what they are doing. So forgiveness is one of the greatest virtues of Christianity, and it is to that virtue that Dalila is appealing, and that makes many of us might make us say this, that I mean, Antony said this about started again this disconnection. I mean, there was a disconnection, sorry. So Antony in Antony and Cleopatra had said this about Cleopatra, that, you know, the play by Shakespeare, that she is cunning past man's thought, and the same can be said about Dalila. I don't understand these frequent disconnections. Come on. Anyway, so she is cunning past man's thought. And if she is cunning, if she is intelligent, that's her credit, and Samson is, is to blame. Anyway, the third point about Dalila could be this, that she is constant in her endeavors. She is constant in her endeavors. She is constant in her endeavors. What is meant by this? That Samson, when Dalila and Samson were talking, Samson was insulting. Samson was trying to put Dalila away for a very long time, and yet Dalila kept on urging Samson. At one point in time, we really thought that, you know, Samson should relent. I mean, like, Dalila was correct. Anyway, so Dalila kept on asking for Samson's forgiveness, and she was constantly asking to be with him. She even forbore all the harshness that Samson had in his mind for Dalila. And she is faithful to her own countrymen and religion. And she would be awarded for that. She had done what many men in her country had failed, and yet she is the villain, not just for Samson, but she is also a villain for her own countrymen as well. Why do you think she becomes a villain for her own countrymen? I mean, this is very paradoxical, but this is very true also. This happens a lot.
Because she betrayed her husband.
Hmm.
That below her status in eyes of people.
Yes, so if you betray your husband, you are a very bad person. You betray your wife, it's okay, but if you betray your husband, it's really very bad, because Pati is Parmeshwar and all that. So, well, Dalila, that's why maybe that's why Dalila wanted Samson back. Whether she loved him or not, it's a different issue. But she was married to a person, and this person, and if she is like, she cannot marry again, maybe. I don't know about the Palestinian religion back then. In many of the religions, including Hinduism, a woman cannot remarry. I mean, in Christian religion, for a very long time, divorce was forbidden, and Vidova Bibaho was banned in our country for a very long time. It is still looked down upon. বেঁচে মানে হাজব্যান্ডের বেঁচে থাকতে থাকতে বিয়ে করাটা তো অলমোস্ট ইম্পসিবল, মানে এটা তো লিগ্যাল প্রবলেম হয়ে যাবে। সেটা সব সমাজেই এখন, মানে ইরেসপেক্টিভ অফ রিলিজিয়ন, ইটস এ লিগ্যাল ইস্যু নাও। সো মেবি শি ওয়ান্টেড, দ্যাট ইজ ওয়াই শি ওয়ান্টেড, অন্ধত কী হয়েছে, সে মানে তার মানে Dalila wanted Samson to live with her. Anyway, next thing about Dalila is that she's treacherous. Of course, she's treacherous. She betrays Samson for money, property, and at the end, she shows herself proud of her treachery, for she thinks that she would be renowned. Because of course, I mean, she thinks that she would be rewarded by the Palestinians in terms of money. She was, I think, and she is proud of it. Anyway, there is a subtle point, there is a subtle division, and we can use it as the fifth point about Dalila's character, that she can be contrasted with many women characters, especially Eve in the context of Christianity. Eve was frail, she was weak. Dalila is not weak. Dalila tried her best to make amends with her husband, but when the husband appeared to be a stubborn idiot, Dalila says, hell with you, I don't give a shit what happens to you now. I tried my best, now you can go and 4-letter word yourself. I don't give again a 4-letter word. And this is in line, let me see, in line number 960. In line number 960, Dalila says, I see thou art implacable, more deaf to prayers than winds and seas, yet winds to seas are reconciled at length and sea to shore. Thy anger, unappeasable, still rages, eternal tempest never to be calmed. Why do I humble thus myself, and suing for peace reap nothing but repulse and hate? Bid go with evil omen and the brand of infamy upon my name denounced. And so she is saying that, you know, you can go and, you know, go away, I don't care about you anymore. So here she shows a rare strength of character which we do not find in many other characters. Like Shakuntala, was Shakuntala so strong? Like, she did call names, she was angry at Dushyanta, but ultimately she reconciled. Was Vasantasena so powerful? Was Helena so powerful? Was Eve or Sita or Draupadi was a different character altogether, but Dalila is something. She's a strong woman. I think so. Anyway, now we can divide the answer, we can divide the topic between two parts for each character. Like one part can be for the character, and another part can be for the role. And the role is something that is more important than the character, because uh, the role played by a character is more important, according to me. That what is the role, and it is a little difficult to put your finger on the role of a particular character. Okay, so now let's look at the role of Dalila in the play. Number one, she makes Samson active. She delivers one of those blows which hurts Samson into consciousness of the self. Like, you have read the poem Good Morrow, where they did not know what they were doing before they were in love. Samson did not realize his true purpose. Samson was proud, and Samson did not realize what he was doing on earth before Dalila betrayed him. It was Dalila's betrayal that led to Samson's imprisonment, and here in imprisonment, where he was away from fame and from glory, he realized his true purpose. It is not in time of happiness, it is not in time of victory or joy that we realize who we are, but it is in the time of pain, sadness, and loneliness that we realize who we really are. Right? And so, Samson is Samson's true nature comes into play only when Dalila activates him. She is also playing the role of a sexual temptation, which temptation is a constant theme in Samson Agonistes, and she is a very palpable, a very material, a very real form of temptation in the form of sexuality. And even at the end she says that, let me touch thy hand and stuff. She says that Dalila says this to Samson in one of her dialogues with Samson, that Samson has not lost other senses, and these other senses might include his sexual sense also. And even being blind, he can enjoy Dalila's body. She might not be saying this directly, but she does say these things to Samson. Even now, she is trying to tempt Samson into a kind of a submission, into a kind of a domestic submission. So, this is Dalila's role here. And this is the temptation that Samson denies, and hence he takes a step towards martyrdom. He takes a step towards his redemption. Dalila, when Samson declines Dalila's offer, then we think that he is going the way of the martyr. Next, Dalila is the manifestation of Milton's anti-feminism. As we already discussed, that Milton is a kind of a misogynist, and he's anti-feminist and stuff like that. So Milton's anti-feminism comes to the fore when we consider how Milton has portrayed Dalila. Okay, so Dalila herself says this, and I'm quoting, "It was a weakness in me, but incident to all our sex." I think I can point out the exact lines. Give me a minute. Okay, cannot find this particular line. Yes, I found it. It's in line number 771, 72, 73. Line number 173. It says, and Dalila is saying, it was a weakness in me, but incident to all our sex. আমি উইক ছিলাম, এটা আমার একটা উইকনেস ছিল, যে যাই হয়েছে সেটা আমার দোষে হয়েছে বা আমি উইক হয়ে গেছিলাম, তাই জন্য আমি এটা করেছি। কিন্তু আমার মানে সব মহিলাদের মধ্যেই এই উইকনেসটা আছে, আমরা সব মহিলারাই উইক। সো দিস ইজ অ্যান অ্যান্টি ফেমিনিস্ট থিং টু সে। Then again in line number 781, 82, 83, she says, nor shouldest thou have trusted that to a woman's frailty. তুমি কেন ট্রাস্ট করলে, তুমি কেন ট্রাস্ট করে আমাকে বললে যে তোমার সব শক্তি তোমার চুলের মধ্যে থাকে? তুমি কেন ট্রাস্ট করে আমাকে ফেসবুকের পাসওয়ার্ড দিয়ে দিলে? আমি তোমার সব বান্ধবীদেরকে তাই জন্য আমি ব্লক করে দিলাম, অ্যান্ড তারপরে তুমি আবার আমার ওপরে চেঁচামেচি করছো। So she is portrayed, she is made to say things which portrays her in a stereotypical light. What is the stereotypical light? That all women are of weak mind, there is a weakness inherent in them, সব মেয়েরা পেট পাতলা হয়, and so on and so forth. So as a role outside the text, Dalila is the manifestation of Milton's anti-feminist, misogynist stance. Okay. Then Samson also says this, that and arts of every woman falls like thee, and he considers woman as a kind of a property. The chorus is also saying that of constancy no root infixed, that either they love nothing or not long. Chorus is saying this again. Therefore God's universal law gave to the man despotic power over his female in due awe. এই জন্যই যেহেতু মহিলারা কোনো জিনিসকে বেশিক্ষণ ভালোবাসতে পারে না, বা তারা কোনো জিনিসকেই ভালোবাসে না, তাই জন্য কোরাস বলছে যে therefore God's universal law gave to the man despotic power over its female in due awe. এই জন্যই তো মেয়েরা নিজেদেরকে সামলাতে পারে না, তাই জন্য ছেলেদেরকে সেই পাওয়ারটা গড দিয়ে দিয়েছে টু রুল ওভার দ্য উইমেন। আই মিন this is so bullshit, but well, this is written in the text, and this can be used to portray, highlight Milton's misogyny, as we find in Samson Agonistes. Okay, and this is, see, Milton is not the problem, Milton is a symptom. The problem is patriarchy, because this is how the world at least wants to see the women. The other day I was having a discussion with my wife that since men are so afraid of women, that is why they want to curtail their strength in the very beginning by making them go weak, or feeding their mind with the bullshit that women really need men for their survival. It's actually the opposite way. It is women without whom a man cannot survive. I mean, literally, like a woman gives birth. I mean, a man does not really give birth, but you can argue that you need both a man and a woman to reproduce. Well, yeah, before cloning or before IVF or IVF, in vitro fertilization or something like that, came into force. I mean, science can do that. You don't really need a man to reproduce now. But anyway, it is the woman who nurtures life, it is not the man. But because this could lead to trouble, and the trouble will be for the men. The men want to oppress and suppress and repress and all the SS against the women, because we are literally scared of what a woman can really do. Okay, so the same is true with Milton. Now Dalila is a kind of a autobiographical representation, or a biographical representation rather, of one of the wives of Milton, Mary Powell. So there is also this connection that, you know, Dalila is a kind of a representation of Mary Powell, who was one of the wives of Milton, and I think she was the youngest, and she uh, uh, was like she ran away or she betrayed him. I don't know what exactly happened, because I do not know Milton's life that well, but you can find out on your own who Mary Powell was. Next point about Dalila's role could be that Dalila was overwhelmed by possessiveness, prestige of princes and priests, and national sentiment. Eve betrayed husband for the fair say of a beast, I mean, like the temptation of a beast of fields, and Eve was the nearest thing to feminine perfection. So what is being referred to here is this, that Dalila's betrayal of Samson is logically correct. Like, I will give you a hypothetical situation, all of you, men and women, or ladies and gentlemen in the meeting. If you are given a choice that you will have lots and lots of money, you will be given a very high position in the society, you will be given a bungalow, you will be given a lifetime subscription of Netflix and Amazon and Voot and Disney Hotstar, and you will be given an Apple iPhone, and you will be given this and that and so on and so forth. All you need to do is to betray your friend. How many of you would do that? I will do it. Maybe not for, no, I will not, I mean, if that depends, what kind of betrayal are we talking about? Are we talking about the death? Like, will it lead to the death of my friend? Well, I would say I would be tempted, but I think I will desist. Even if I am given a lot of money, and even if I am given a lot of respect and stuff like that, I will not lead my friend to, or my uh, beloved to die because of the money that is offered. But say suppose it's just about a kind of a small betrayal, like, you know, uh, you tell about your friend that, you know, that your friend is engaged to someone, and that became a news. So it did not lead to the death of your friend, but it lead to some awkwardness or some loss of face. So Eve, who was a woman, was honey-talked into betraying God and the only man that she knew. Eve was tempted by a snake, a lowly animal like a snake. And Dalila, who was far superior to Eve in that sense, was actually swayed by some real prospects in her life. And that is why she became a villain. But if we think logically, isn't what we would do? I mean, if it does not lead to someone's death, and if it just leads to some kind of a, you know, problem in a person's life, we often do that for some kind of payment. Anyway, next comes the issue of poetic enrichment. I mean, in the very description of Dalila, we find Milton at his poetic best. Chorus says, and I quote, a manifest serpent. Look at the words used, manifest serpent. She is a serpent, of course, but she is a manifest serpent. Okay, she has associated herself. I mean, she brings in the images of the animals into the play, and there are many other examples like that. The total atmosphere of Samson Agonistes is actually very stern and dark, and I think Dalila's feminine softness and elegance provides a welcome and effective contrast. মানে আইপিএল খেলার মধ্যে যারা আইপিএল দেখো, মহিলা যে কমেন্টেটররা আছেন তাদের জন্য, বা আগে এক সময় ওই চিয়ার লিডার্সরা ছিল, অনেকে সরি দেয়ার ওয়াজ আ ডিসকানেকশন अगेन, অনেকে খেলা দেখতে যেত চিয়ার লিডার্সদের নাচ দেখার জন্য, এবং আমি এক দুবার আইপিএল দেখতে গেছিলাম, নট ফর দ্যাট, বাট আই ওয়ান্টেড টু সিট রাইট next to, or maybe as far as possible to the cheerleaders, and I wanted to see what they were doing. মানে ছোট লোক মেন্টালিটি হলে যা হয় আর কি, যাই হোক। So most of the men were not looking at the players playing during that, because it was something new to us back then. মানে নতুন হোক আর পুরনো হোক, it's just an excuse that নতুন ছিল, whatever, it was not new. And but what I'm trying to arrive at is that Milton, I don't know if Milton is really clever or Milton has done it unconsciously. He has created and introduced such an interesting character in the form of Dalila that the otherwise dull and drab and self-pitying atmosphere of Samson Agonistes changes for a while with the introduction of Dalila. She brings in a fresh air of femininity. Okay, and she is also a foil to Samson, as Samson is upright. Yeah, sorry, there is something going wrong with the connection, and I am frequently losing the connection. What was the last thing that I was talking about? Did we talk about Dalila's femininity versus the dull and drab atmosphere of Samson Agonistes? Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
So what was the last thing that you heard me talking about? I was talking about how Dalila's appearance makes things really cool, like interesting in as far as the atmosphere of the play is concerned. Did you get that, or did I lose you before that? Anyway, I am recording this entire thing so even if you lose some bits and parts, you can go back to that particular time where you thought you would be missing the things that I have been speaking, and you can catch up to it. Okay, anyway, so Samson, she is also a foil, foil, foil to the character of Samson, because Samson is upright and she is cunning, she is flexible. Next, her role is the source of irony. She provides the source of irony in the text. How? She is a manifestation of the difference between what she says and what she means. So she is like irony incarnate. ও বলছে কিছু ভাবছে কিছু করছে কিছু অন্য, and that is why she is interesting. I think that she's some character, like আমরা বলি না যে এর একদম মানে যন্তর পিস। তো আমার মনে হয় Dalila is also a person like this who can be considered to be a যন্তর piece, because she is so very manipulative, she is so very cunning, and she is so very flexible in the ways in which she deals with Samson. And there is this critic who talks about Dalila, and the name of the critic is E. Dowden. I don't know what the full form of E. Dowden is, because I wrote this when I did not know that I need to like write the entire name and I need to write the source. The same mistake should not be repeated by you, and you should, if you are quoting a critic, you should know where it is taken from, because only the quotation of a critic will not help you. But anyway, we will try to search who this E. Dowden is and where from has this quotation been taken. I'll try to provide to you. But he says that we see that Milton exposes Dalila only to drive her explosively from the stage. So we see that Milton exposes Dalila only to drive her explosively from the stage. So Milton is creating Dalila to create a kind of a punching bag for Samson. There was another disconnection. So this E. Dowden's quotation might be useful in this context. Again, she functions as the device of reminiscence. As her last role, we can say that she functions as the device of reminiscence, which is a kind of a choral function. She is functioning as a chorus, because it is through her that we realize that whatever happened between her and Samson, and she remembers, she brings to the fore the part that we had missed earlier. Okay, let's come to the next character, that is Manoa. And as I said, that we can divide all the characters into two parts, or all the characterization or character analysis into two parts, is to talk about first the character and then the role of that particular character. So the physical appearance of Manoa is like, he is old, as he lagged behind the chorus's younger feet. His hair is as white as down. Down, I don't know what that really meant back then, but his hair is white. He is really very old, and he is a Danite of Zora. He is the richest of his tribe. So he is a Danite. He belongs to Zora, and he is very rich. That is what we know from the chorus. He is affectionate. He is remorseful to see Samson's change and cries, and he is trying to buy the freedom of Samson with whatever he has got. He's trying to buy Samson's freedom from the Palestinians. Third, he is intelligent. He's not intelligent, he is indulgent. He is indulgent towards Samson. Okay. How is he indulgent towards Samson? He lets Samson do what he pleases, letting Samson marry two women who belong to the enemy. So he married another woman. Okay. Manoa was not affirmative of either marriages, which he tells much later, the harm already being done. So Manoa was not a strict father, and had he been a strict father, had he not allowed Samson to marry again, and I think Dalila was the second marriage, or maybe the first, or I don't know what happened, because we need to read the text for that. So Manoa was not a strict father, and he allowed Samson to do whatever he wanted to do, and that is one of the reasons as to why Samson is now where he is. Okay. So what is the role of Manoa now? Manoa functions as the moral voice of the text. What is the moral voice? What is he saying? What is he doing? Zufisha, can you hear me now, Zufisha? Like, if you cannot, that is not a problem. As I said, this thing is okay. Yeah, you can. But anyway, there has been frequent disconnections happening. So what you can do is you can listen to this thing later. But I understand 2 hours of constant listening might not be very healthy. But you can fill in the places where you think you have missed. Anyway, so I was saying that Manoa is the moral voice. And why is he the moral voice now? Because we find him saying this, and I'm quoting Manoa from the text. O ever failing trust in mortal strength, and oh, what not in man, deceivable and vain. So he is saying that, O ever failing trust in mortal strength, and oh, what not in man, deceivable and vain. So everything that is there in a man can be deceived. I mean, a man can be deceived rather easily. Okay. And mortal strength does not offer that kind of trust that mental strength can. So that is why we can consider Manoa to be a kind of a moral voice. Next is again reminiscence, the choral function that Dalila was also talking about. Dalila also functioned as a voice of reminiscence, and Manoa tells us about what a champion Samson was, tells us about Samson's marriage, and then eulogizes Samson, that he praises Samson. So as I was saying in the last class, he is saying this, he is making kind of a prediction that and from his memory inflame their breasts to matchless valor and adventures high. And he predicts that Samson might do something which will make Samson very famous, and people will visit his grave for a long time to come. He will become the true hero that he had always been. So just like the chorus, he is also functioning as a voice that predicts. Chorus also sometimes talks about what is going to happen in the future. So this might be something here. He brings in the Christian element. How? So Manoa says that so Dagon shall be magnified, and God, besides whom is no God, compared with idols. So I was talking about Chimera and Bellerophontes on Monday, and Manoa is also saying this, that Dagon is not a true god, and how will we know who is a true god and who is not? When there is a comparison between idols, that is of Dagon, and then there will be a comparison with Dagon with the real god. And when this comparison happens, we will know who the real god is. So he also says that God, who by a miracle quenched Samson's thirst after a battle, can restore his eyesight. So he is the voice of hope, he is the voice of faith as well, which is very Christian. Hope and faith are chief Christian values. He is also okay, next he is the temptation. He is also a source of the theme of temptation in the text. How? Because he questions God's mercy once, and he is one of the persons who also brings back Samson to his own self. He exhorts Samson to come to his senses. He tells Samson that you should be you should regain your stature, and you should do something that will bring back the lost glory. But he also questions God's mercy when he says this: alas, methinks whom God hath chosen once to worthiest deeds, if he be through frailty err, he should not be so overwhelmed, and as a thrall subject him to so foul indignities. He says that if God has chosen him to do great deeds, then why is he rotting in prison? Why not God free him from the prison and allow him to be the hero that he is? Just a little help from the God will make Samson worthy again. But Samson defends God against his own father's accusations against God. That and this goes a long way in order to express the justification of the ways of God to men, because that is one of the purposes of Samson Agonistes. That Samson Agonistes, through the story of Samson Agonistes, you will realize as to why God does whatever God does. Okay. Secondly, like within this paradigm of temptation, within this point of temptation, there can be a sub point, and we can say that Manoa implies that God has no use for Samson. This presses Samson towards despair. And despair is sin. But Manoa says that God will assert his might against Dagon, and he, like Samson, are unaware that Samson is the instrument of God's success, and a father's devotion and care seeks to intervene within the divine order. So, like Samson, Manoa is not aware that what is going to happen at the end, and he thinks that it's okay for Samson to give up and go away, because we know that that Manoa is trying to buy Samson's freedom, and so he functions as a tempter because he is so full of love for his son. He cannot see his son going through such despair, and he is actually trying to make Samson be comfortable. But by doing this, he is actually weakening Samson, because our love for our own people often weakens them, and the same is happening in the case of Manoa. And that is why I have said that is why I want to say that Manoa is also a kind of a tempter. It's a temptation against Samson. And then Samson says this to his father, that or rather Manoa, Manoa says this to Samson, that Samson has done his penance, and he should now leave whatever he is doing, and he should come with him and leave being a hero. Okay. Manoa is also a point of irony. Manoa is just like Dalila, brings in an issue of irony in the text. How? Manoa says that when he went to bribe the Philistines to get Samson free, somewhere somewhere vindictive, like somewhere some Palestinians did not want this to happen. Others were bribable, others magnanimous. Then they all don't deserve to die. You see the problem happening here, that once Manoa goes to this group of Palestinians, some were vindictive, some wanted Samson to suffer for the rest of his natural life in prison, and some were corrupt. But he himself says that some were magnanimous, some were kind, and they did not all deserve to die. So when Samson brought down the entire temple on the heads of the Palestinian chiefs, then the Palestinians who were magnanimous, who were kind, who were good, also died. Then is this justice? And this is being brought about by Manoa, not by the Palestinians themselves. So a crucial role is being played by Manoa in the text. Now let's come to Harapha. Character again. We see Harapha's lineage. He's an aristocratic person. His tradition is noble. He's a warrior. He's a giant of Gath, descendant of Og and Anak and Emims, all giants of renown. I don't know. They don't have Facebook accounts, so I would know who these Og, Anak and Emims are. But as it appears that they were all giants. Like giants were a race once, huge people. Like that wrestler, what's his name? Khali. So he was a giant of Goth, and he had a noble line, and he belongs to the noble giants of Og and Anak and Emims and all that. So, but he is unfriendly. He's not very. He tries to bully Samson. He's also very boastful, that I would have forced thee soon, wish other arms, or left the carcass where the ass lay thrown. So he is challenging Samson that if he were there in the fight between him and the Palestinian armies, then he would have had killed him. So he is very boastful of his abilities. He does not know what Samson can do. But he is also a coward. He does not really fight, but instigates the Palestinians against Samson. মানে যারা যত বড় বড় কথা বলে, অনেক সময় দেখা গেছে যে তারা ততটাই ভীতু হয়। এবং হারাফার ক্যারেক্টারটাও আমরা দেখতে পাবো, ওর অ্যাকশনসের মধ্যে দিয়েই দেখতে পাবো যে ও যখন স্যামসন তেড়ে ফুড়ে উঠেছিল মারপিট করার জন্য, তখনও চুপচাপ চলে গেল এবং ওই প্যালেস্টিনিয়ানসদেরকে ওর বিরুদ্ধে খেপাতে শুরু করল। Now let's come to the role of Harapha. So he is the third and final or last spur which instigates Samson to achieve his martyrdom, because he instigates the Palestinians to trouble, to torment Samson. He was tormented, he was spurred then to the act of his martyrdom. মানে হারাফা প্যালেস্টিনিয়ানসদেরকে স্যামসনের বিরুদ্ধে খেপিয়ে তুলল। স্যামসন খেপে গিয়ে বার খেয়ে ক্ষুদিরাম হয়ে গেল এবং সে মার্টারডাম পেয়ে গেল। So this is the role, this is one of the roles of Harapha, that he actually led to the achieving of the martyrdom of Samson. He is also a tempter. How does he tempt Samson? He says that, presume not on thy God whatever he be, thee he regards not, owns not, hath cut off. So he is saying to Samson that তুমি একটা কাজ করো, তুমি আমাদের দলে চলে আসো, কারণ you were powerful. It's like you know, once Rashid had defeated, I think, because he batted very well, he defeated the Sunrisers Hyderabad, and now Sunrisers Hyderabad might want to buy Rashid Khan back. So maybe Harapha is trying to do the same thing, that he is saying that your God has abandoned you, your God is not looking after you, so why don't you join our gang? You know, this kind of thing. So he is also he gave the opportunity of a mortal combat, a hand-to-hand combat to Samson, which was supposed to prove who is the real God. That is very well, that is what Harapha is. Harapha is a savage, he's a beast, he's a giant, and he thinks that only because he can they can fight, and they can fight to decide who the God is, and which is very much against the very idea of godhood. I mean, how would two people and their fight decide who is the real God? This is very ironical. Anyway, again, third point about his role, about Harapha's role, is that he is a foil to Samson. He sets off Samson's solidity, humbleness, and tells us that his strength has grown back. Actually, it is through the interaction with Harapha that we realize that Samson's strength has actually grown back. Next point about Harapha's role. When Samson challenges Harapha to arm himself to the teeth, and he himself would fight only with a stick, Manoa deflates the superiority of physical strength. Milton deflates the superiority of physical strength, and Milton also parodies militarism. Like we have seen this earlier, that when Samson denies to fight with Harapha, he is actually denying to use physical strength as a measure of godliness, as a measure of religion. And Milton uses the character of Harapha to deflate physical strength versus mental or intellectual or spiritual strength. He is also into this theme of reality. He is also brings in the theme of appearance and reality. So Harapha's boasts and his ultimate cowardice. So he boasts a lot, he appears to be very powerful, but ultimately he appears to be a coward. He proves to be a coward. And he also brings in the tinge of humor at Harapha's expense. The chorus is making fun of Harapha, that his giant ship is gone somewhat crestfallen. He is giant, but he does not have the required strength of mind or required strength of the body to fight with Samson. So I think with this we will come at the end of the character and role of Harapha as well. Now I think I tried to discuss as much as possible the role and character of these three characters in the play. If you have any doubts, if you have anything to add, if you want me to go over a particular point or point out something which will help you further understand what's going on, then you may tell me now. Anything that you would like to clarify connected with Samson Agonistes or not? No, I cannot. This is impossible. Or maybe what I can do is I can summarize. How do you want me to summarize? Like, you just want me to say all the points once again? Orchok, what do you want? Point out. Okay, all right. I'll try to do that. Give me a minute. So I divided, or I thought it will be okay if we divide each character's analysis into two parts. First being the character itself, as to how we find the character in the play, and the role that particular character plays in the play. So where does Dalila come from, and what is her physical appearance? That is the first thing. Secondly, she is intelligent. Third, she is perseverant. Fourth, she is treacherous. Fifth, she is a contrast to Eve. These are the 5 character points of Dalila. The role of Dalila can be summarized as she activates Samson's martyrdom. She functions as a sexual temptress. She manifests Milton's anti-feminism. She is biographical or autobiographical. She is pragmatic. She shows strength of mind. It brings a poetical enrichment, animal imagery, and she is also a foil to Samson. She is the source of irony, and she is also the device of reminiscence in the play. She brings back memories. Next, Manoa's character, we talk about his physical appearance. We think that he is affectionate towards his son. He is indulgent. And as far as the role is concerned, Manoa is the moral voice of the play. He functions as a chorus, as a part of the chorus, by bringing back the memories about Samson. He brings in the Christian element. He is a tempter also. He brings in the theme of temptation. He is also the source of irony. He is source of at least one irony in the play. Harapha's character, we find in form of that he belongs to a good lineage. He has a pedigree. He is unfriendly. He is boastful. He is coward. And role, he is another aspect. He is another spur that brings Samson into play. He activates Samson in a way. He is also a source of temptation. He is a source. He's a foil to Samson, and he also through him Milton parodies militarism or physical strength. He also brings in the theme of appearance and reality. and also we find a little bit of humor. We find a little bit of humor coming from the character of Harapha. So that is how I try to summarize whatever I said about these three characters. Is that okay, Orchok? Okay, any other questions, any other things that you would like to discuss in the remaining time that we have? Okay, so you may leave the meeting now. That will bring an end to our second topic. We will discuss other topics in other usual classes or extra classes. Oh, extracts. I will do it right now. Thank you for reminding me. I'll upload them in the um, Google Classroom. Okay. So, all right. I am.